Hey there, I'm Allen Firstenberg,
Hello, I'm Stefania Pecore.
and welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two voice devs.
Haha! Hey there, Stefania.
Yeah,
It is great to have you as a guest host this week. Mark's taking a little bit of time off, but Google Cloud Next happened very recently, and Stefania was there. So I wanted to bring you on the show to kind of get your take on all the announcements and stuff from Google Cloud Next. So it's great to have you on the show.
thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm honored to be here.
Oh no, we are honored to have you. Um, so why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, about your background and what you do, and kind of how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So my background is I would say a very particular one, and I think it's interesting for many people out there. I started with a bachelor degree in foreign languages, humanities. So no coding, anything about that.
Okay.
And I was the first one doing a sort of AI thesis to finish my bachelor, with my professor saying, "Hey, what are you doing? We usually discuss literature. What is machine translation?" And the reason why I've done that is because I really love the computer science in general. I really love the gaming part. We can say that was my big.
We can say that that's a great place to get started.
Yeah,
Lots of people
exactly.
get started there.
And at some point, I was like, okay, I can speak several languages. I know like literature, histories, but what can I do more than this? Like, and there was also the other part. Like, I would like to give the opportunity to people to make sure they can communicate even without doing a bachelor in foreign languages. And that's why I started with machine translation. And I was back in Italy at the time. I'm Italian. Ciao. Basically, I've done all the other studies, so master degrees and PhD in France, and that was my first time, like my first date with coding. And I was like, okay, I can speak several languages, but I cannot speak with computers. It was very hard at the very beginning. I met first of all Perl. I don't know how many people know Perl, but I started
so
with that.
so when were you introduced to Perl, and when did you use Perl?
Honestly, so Perl, I used that back on 2011 for my
Okay.
master degree. Did I use it for my when I started to work? I think not, because already there was Python, so it was easier, honestly, with Python. Like I remember I spent a lot of time learning Perl, especially because there were all the weird stuff in how to structure the data and so on. And when there was Python, was like, yeah, okay, I want to go to Python. Bye, bye, and that's it. So yeah, basically, I spent several years in academia, not only for the studies, but also like as a AI researcher and a lecturer. And at some point during pandemics, I was like, okay, what I do if my life will end tomorrow? Have I done everything that I want to do? No. I really like video games again. And I was like, okay, I will change the industry from academia to video games. And that was a huge step because it was very different, but at the same time was so interesting because video games are like simulations. You can do a lot of stuff, a lot of AI related stuff, not only for natural language processing, which is my domain, but also for machine vision, machine translation, and so on. So I was like, okay, I like it. I want to try it. And I worked there for more or less for 3 years, 4 years. And after that, I changed in my actual position. I'm a director of AI for a company here in Montreal that works with the government to help patients in oncology to find solution for those patients, but also to find their path for their meds that they need to take, also to try to identify the patterns in order to have a better care for these patients. It's a totally different world, but it's very interesting. It has a huge impact, the work that I do. But all this just to probably to give an example also to the people that are watching us. You can start from humanities with no code at all, and then you can go until where I am now. I'm also very engaged in the community as ambassador for Google Women Tech Makers. Google Women Tech Makers.
The great to show the logo
Yeah.
and see that called out.
Also, Women in AI and Women in Games. And recently, last week, I had the opportunity to be appointed by the UNESCO for as an expert for women for ethical AI. So
And congratulations for
thank
that.
you,
That's huge news. Congratulations.
thank you. So that's it. That's a little my stories, and
That's it. Just nothing big. Started as a humanities major, now recognized by UNESCO. That's it.
that's it.
No, I think those are wonderful and important messages, and that's kind of why we like to do this. It's kind of get the message across that you can approach this industry, this field, being a developer from a lot of different ways,
Totally.
and I think that wonderfully illustrates it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fun word, and it's really an open word. It really matters that you have the intentions, you work hard to get where you want to go.
Great message, thank you. So when I met you, I guess last year in Montreal when we were both doing presentations for GDG Montreal's DevFest,
Yeah,
and we've been kind of trying to find a date for you to come on, and both of us we had a lot of scheduling issues dealing with this. But finally, when you mentioned that you were going to Cloud Next, and I wasn't, we thought this would be a great time for you to come on and talk about what your experience at Cloud Next was like. So I guess maybe let's start there. What was Cloud Next like?
it was huge. Basically, I walked around 32 kilometers every day. That's
Wow.
just to put a number. It was huge. I know that it was huge also for people from Google. It was the first time in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, there were more than 30K people. I think the expo was bigger, at least like 3 times bigger than last year. Usually, if I remember correctly, it was in San Francisco in the past editions. And it was very interesting because first of all, I saw like a lot of companies that I met during the different industries where I was working. They were all there. I was like, oh wow, okay, I know that, and I know also that. Wow, okay. And I saw that there were a lot, like many partners, new partners with Google. I was like, okay. Especially I was surprised to see at some point Datadog, Redis. I worked a lot with Redis and Stack Overflow. I was like, ooh, okay. Um,
No, the Stack Overflow announcement, a few months back was a big one.
yeah, yeah,
That Google was basically saying, we're going to be getting data directly from Stack Overflow now. So
yeah,
it's partnership. And one of the big things about Cloud Next is an interesting conference for Google because it serves kind of multiple roles. On one hand, it's trying to get developers and companies to say, come use Google
yeah,
Cloud. But it's also kind of pitching at managers and top level execs and saying, here are our partnerships. Look, companies that you've heard of, like Pinecone and Neo4j and Datadog, they trust us. You can trust us too.
yeah, and
So it's very much a sales conference as well.
yeah. Honestly, it was my first conference of this kind, so it was really interesting also to see all these nuances. Okay. Um, and honestly, they have done a great job, especially because it was very interesting to see how They were, of course, selling the Google products, but at the same time, they were like, okay, we have great improvements, for example, for Vertex AI and so on. We also know that there are some limits, and the people from Google, they are helping us to understand what are these limits. I really saw a highlight in hey, we are trying to build all the stuff for you and with you. We are trying to understand what are the concerns about security and especially about governance. And I was impressed, since I work right now on the biotech healthcare part, I was impressed by the different big companies, such as Bayer, for example, that are using Vertex AI. I
Mm.
honestly didn't know about that. I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay. And also there was Mayo Clinic, and they were basically saying, thanks to Google, we are right now accelerating technology, but at the same time we are taking care of what is the security integration of data, and also how to take care of people that are working with us, because they can work more on stuff that a PC cannot do, a machine cannot do. And there was a specific part for the burnout. Like, we can try to help these people that have a lot of reports, and it's basically what I'm doing as a job. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I can understand that. We can try to help them by giving them the tools, and they can basically use their minds to create better stuff without being in burnout.
So, so you started talking about healthcare.
Yeah,
What were some of the, I think, the biggest either announcements or things that you learned there that kind of catered to that healthcare focus that you work with these days?
I can say the two things that were really interesting for me was the declaration by Mayo Clinic. They are basically creating one thing that is called Solution Studio. There are a lot of AI applications that are backended by Google. And basically, they create digital health solutions for them, but also for the partners they work with. And they can de-identify the data, and they can also create a pipeline that are expanded, and they can accelerate the calculation, and they can especially make sure that we don't have a leak of sensitive data.
And I think that point is kind of an important one. A lot of people will kind of look at Google Cloud Services and say, why do I need something like this? And part of the answer is that Google is saying, we're able to help you provide the security that you need, especially in healthcare services. We're able to create content isolation.
Yeah.
If your company requires that data be in a particular geographic location, we've got the data centers where you can control where that is.
Yeah.
And there's lots of services that are out there that can't do that. So this is why cloud providers like Google Cloud, like Azure, like AWS,
Hmm.
can give you those things that you necessarily can't do otherwise. And I think that's lost on a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, work in healthcare is very hard, especially for the sensitive data and also for the different governments. One thing that I was asking myself, and I honestly I don't have the reply right now. I have a meeting with a Google side representative for that, because of course all the conferences were like, at least the ones that I assisted were basically from people from the USA. So I don't know in other regulation if we have a limitation in that sense. I will discover soon, because of course. However, the conference worked. I'm really interested in Google Cloud right now.
Well, it got you interested, it got you connected,
Yeah,
and you're now firming up those connections to get the answers that you need.
yeah. Basically, however, I was surprised by the service, the new service that they announced, the isolator service. So basically, it's a sort of a consulting, I think, between 3 and 6 weeks that they gave to the enterprise, that they would like to understand how Google Cloud works, and how they can handle the data, and especially sensitive data. So it's really focused on the healthcare part, but it's a huge path, huge
Good.
steps. Yeah.
No, very important. I agree. So I know one of the things that they had pre-announced a few months ago that basically all of their AI services were kind of becoming merged under this brand name of Gemini.
Yes.
And at the conference itself, they kind of launched they finished the rebranding, what used to be known as Duet AI, which is
Mhm.
what they announced last year at Cloud Next. They finished that rebranding, but also announced a bunch of other products. So you want to kind of talk about what some of these new Gemini products are.
Yeah, because there are a lot.
There are a lot of them, and I don't think I could keep track of all of them, to be
I
honest. But
remember.
so what were the ones that caught your eye, perhaps?
I think the one, for example, it was the Gemini Code Assist, which is the old Duet AI for devs. It's interesting because basically it can assist devs, but it is also used in other sub-services, for example, for the database part. So if you're a data analyst and you want to be assisted
Hmm.
for SQL or Python, you can use that. It is already integrated. There was also the Gemini Cloud Assist. So, in order to monitor the life cycle of the application and have all the AI based assistance, always to understand better how the application is going, the output, and so on.
I think one of the interesting things about Code Assist
Yeah,
was that they started saying things like, you'll be able to just load in your entire code base and ask questions of it, and,
yeah,
and
yeah,
with things like Gemini 1.5, that becomes pretty straightforward and easy. But again, you can do this on Vertex and keep your code private.
yeah,
So you don't have to worry about where your code lives, who has access to your code. It's your code. Google gets access to it just for this purpose,
yeah.
and those are important messages to get across.
Yeah, and that was part of the message about also responsible AI. Basically, probably at every talk I was there, they were saying things like you have control over your data, and especially we want to clarify what we can see through Gemini. So basically, we want to make sure that you feel safe because you are safe, and
Yeah.
that's I think it's really important. Not only on the healthcare system, but every time you use any technology out there, no matter what is your level, or you should know what is happening. So I think it's a huge.
No, and that's a very important
Yeah.
point. Is you really do need to understand what's happening to your data on every level.
And I think also for Google Cloud, one thing that can be interesting for the people that are watching us, there is a service that is totally free, and it's a Google Cloud consulting service. So you can find on the website. Also to understand how Google Cloud, how you can use Google, all the services of Google Cloud, and also to ask specific questions. So that's interesting.
Okay. Anything else under the Gemini brand that caught your eye?
Um I was talking like what I said before. One thing that I really loved was the BigQuery features, especially because like I can use SQL. It is not something that I really like, however. So the idea that I can basically investigate my data by using like by just writing, it was something that I really loved. I was like, yeah, I want that. And honestly, I also talked with other people that their jobs is data analysts, and they were like, "Yes, finally, we have something like that." So probably this is what was one of the biggest part.
No, I would definitely. I mean, BigQuery has always been a pretty. I won't say it's unique to Google Cloud, but Google Cloud really does that sort of thing better than anybody else. And just being able to access a massive amount of data we're talking multiple terabytes of data in just a few seconds is really kind of incredible. And now adding to that saying, oh yeah, and you can just ask questions in the human language of your choice. That really just unleashes amazing amounts of power.
You can imagine
Um,
also if you think about BigQuery and like if you connect that to other application. So there was I remember when I was there were multiple talks about the partnership with Google and LangChain. So I mean, it's really interesting to see how the two can collaborate and how at the end the final user can profit of the two together. Yeah.
Well, and talking about it with LangChain, that starts getting into what some of the Gemini API announcements were like, and this was an area that obviously I had a lot of interest in. Um, I don't know how much you looked into the changes on the API stuff.
Uh,
Was that
yeah.
was that something you looked at a lot?
So honestly, while I was running in the company,
There's a lot there. No,
yeah.
no, no, I understand. There's a lot there.
So probably one thing I'm curious about: what is your point of view from home?
So I mean, I looked at that, the day the announcement came out, and all of the flurry of other, suddenly a bunch of documentation gets updated, and people start asking questions about using all the new features, and so there was a ton of stuff, ranging from, and I think this was probably the biggest announcement, is that they had kind of back in December they had kind of started teasing
Yeah.
Gemini 1.5 Pro with a massive one meg token context window, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, well we'll see that eventually." And then slowly it started rolling around to people to use it, and then slowly started rolling around to developers to play with it. And everyone's asking, "Well, how do I get on the developer list to play
Mhm.
with this?" Um, and then at next they announced, "Well, everyone can do it now." Gemini 1.5 is now in public preview for everybody,
Yeah.
and it becomes a fully supported, generally available product starting in May. And that's across, there, for those that have kind of followed along, there are kind of two different platforms where it can run. What's known as AI Studio and on Google Cloud Vertex AI. And it's going to be available in both of them. And it's available for preview now in both of them. So that was kind of amazing that they're getting it out in 6 months from initial announcement.
That's great.
That's ridiculously fast for Google.
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, everything is going so fast.
So fast. Um, Also, what was interesting with Gemini 1.5 is one of the criticisms before was that, it had video support, but no audio for the video was captured. And now audio is supported directly as well. Um, so that's amazing. They've added some features that have been popular on other platforms, particularly OpenAI's platform. So it now includes system instructions so that you can kind of give a much stronger nudge about how you want the LLM to behave and how you want it to
Mhm.
respond. It's got something called JSON mode, so if you want output in a very structured format, you can now get it in that structured in JSON. Function calling is a feature that's been in there for several months now, but it's been enhanced with some new controls. In addition, on the Vertex AI side, they announced a new stable version of Gemini 1.0 Pro. So they're not saying, you know, 1.5 is the only model out there. They've now got a range of stable models that are out there, which is kind of neat. One of the things I found really cool was kind of an acknowledgement that a lot of people use these tools as search engines. And when we get questions a lot, people will say, "How can I have the Gemini API, search the web?"
Mhm.
And the answer is, well, you can't. That's not what LLMs do. So now they've come out with a set of tools that they call grounding tools.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with retrieval augmented generation, and we've talked about that a lot on this show, they've now got tools that are built into the API that won't do the work for you, but let you hook into other tools to do that work. And one of the other tools that you get to hook into is Google Search.
Yeah.
So now you've got a legitimate API to Google Search, and that's radical for Google. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, and we'll definitely be talking about that in other shows. Um, so those I found amazing. And then also that they kind of had this acknowledgement of, Gemini is great, and we fully support Gemini, but it's not the only LLM out there. And if you want to use other LLMs, you can do that. So they announced full support for all of Anthropic Claude 3's models, including Opus. Those are now available with an API. So it's a model as a service. You don't need to spin up your own machine through Vertex AI's Model Garden. There are new Gemma models. So the small version, Google's open model, new ones of those are now available. There's a new Imagen model to do image generation, and that's now available for folks to play with. And there are new embedding models in preview. So tons of new models, both from Google, from outside Google, for folks to play with. So
we have months and months of playing around with this stuff.
I don't have the time, but yes,
Yeah.
lots of stuff to explore.
And have you heard about Vertex AI Agent Builder?
So Agent Builder, yes, I have. So what was your take on it first? Let's start with that.
Honestly, I was like, wait, so now I can basically create a chatbot with a no code. What I've done until now. Like, I was there coding a lot, and now I can do it this way. I really love the idea. I'm really like, I'm happy that right now there are these solutions that are no code, because I think they're interesting for people to be introduced in the AI, and they will help also AI to grow. And of course, one other thing that I really appreciated is all these focus on the RAG application, so the retrieval augmented systems, because basically, especially in my case, you think about healthcare, you don't want to have replies with your LLM that are outside, and you really want to focus on what you have, and it's like essential. So I really feel safe, and I'm very happy that right now we have these things that are backed by Google. And I remember there was, I don't remember exactly what they said, but I really love that. They were like, hey, we are the people that are doing Google search, so we are the best ones to do that. I was like, okay, that's perfect, great, thank you.
Yes, that is. I am thrilled to hear that they said that, because that really was kind of my take on it as well. Um, so my perspective on Agent Builder is that it is a rebranding of something that was rebranded last year.
Okay.
So I guess you might have previously remembered something like Vertex AI App Agent or App Builder or something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. And last year at Next, that got rebranded to Vertex AI Search and Conversation, the most boring name on the planet. Um, so that's now been rebranded again with a lot more features to Agent Builder. So and it's exactly what you said. It's I think actually what I find neat about this is that on one hand it provides low code, no code tool.
Yeah.
If you want to get something out the door quickly, you dump your documents into it, you create an index, you tell it to make a bot around this, and now you have a bot. And that's great. And then when you say, oh, but I need this bot to do this other stuff, and I need it to have conversations and collect information in this other way in addition. Well, now you can do that because it's tied into Dialogflow.
Hmm.
So it's all the same thing. And then as you're building over time and as you're learning more and as you're having more and more needs, you're saying, well, okay, I actually now need a more complicated large language model tied into this.
Hmm.
I need more control.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's where the grounding tools that are now part of the Gemini API tie directly into it. So you can now say, and ground your answers against this data store,
Yeah.
which is the same data store that you built for Agent Builder.
Hmm.
So you're getting this entire range of no code, low code, lots of code, all of it kind of tied together on this same platform.
Um,
And
yeah,
and I don't think anybody has really realized that that's what Google just did.
yeah, it's
Is they literally just said, we're the search people, we're the experts in search, we're now going to make you experts in search as well. And that changes the game.
and honestly, I think this is personally, I think this is something that Google, like it's how can I say that Google with all this, with what they present to us, they basically say this is our way to stay competitive, because basically they gave the possibility to different departments, for example, of a company, to use AI without being an expert, or also if you're an expert. I remember there was Ford that they were presenting how they use AI in their company, and they basically the first slide was something like, okay, in our company we have the data scientists, of course, they are the expert ones, but we have also people that they just need to use the data for marketing purpose. So basically, we can use all the tools by Google to make sure, first of all, that everybody's happy, that everybody can use the right data in the right way, and especially that we can track our data. So we can understand if we have any issue with the data, if we have any leak, if we have basically anything that can go wrong when you are using a huge amount of data. So I think the biggest part of this Google Cloud Next was just to tell to the people, hey, we are trying to build not only the LLM part to make you chat with the LLM, but really to support you as person, single person, but also as an enterprise. So it was great, honestly.
No, I think it's an excellent point, and you're right. I think part of Google's appeal here is that they can hit that entire range, from the individual user who is using Gemini for Gmail,
Yeah,
who is using the basic Gemini chat app, um, to Gemini for Enterprise, where it's tied into your all of your workspace stuff, where you've got teams of data scientists, but also people who know nothing about AI. It's giving that entire range for people to use, and that's an incredibly powerful ability, and an incredibly powerful position for them to be in.
yeah, totally.
Now, I want to touch very briefly on the hardware side. I'm not a hardware person, but I know there were hardware announcements at Next that were big. What's the one that jumped out to you?
So as you remember, Google was already in partnership with NVIDIA, and they introducing the A3 Mega virtual machine. So we will have in the cloud, we will have basically different NVIDIA H100 GPUs. So we can have more power. I'm not a
More power.
hardware person, but I was like, interesting. I like it because when you need to fine tune your large language model, you need that power. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
No, and I thought it was interesting that I believe they said it was the T5 TPUs were also now generally available. So previously, folks were had access to T4s. Now there's T5s also available, and those are massive, massive GPU pods.
Yeah,
That's some processing power that now people have access to. They have access to it at a big price, mind you, but they have access to it.
I mean, big prize. It's also true that there is a cost behind. So
There is a cost.
yeah, it's
You
a
know,
part of probably also of the responsible part of Google, just to say, okay, you want really to use it, okay,
and that's actually a good point. I know in the past they've talked a lot about environmental impacts of their data centers and how they've been mitigating it. Do you remember too much discussion of that this time? Because I don't remember seeing it in the keynote.
I don't think, like, there were some mentions during the talk, but it was really there was not this mention exactly. They
Hmm.
were talking about the responsible part, but more on the we don't want you. to have leaks in your data and so on, but not a lot with the environment part. I'm trying to think about it, but not in the talks where I was there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember hearing too much about it either, and that's usually something they try to highlight a lot.
Yeah.
Interesting. So two big questions. You're going to be there again next year.
So
Do you want to be there again next
yeah,
year?
I want to be there. So this year I was lucky enough, thanks to the women techmaker ambassador program, to have the opportunity to go there, to enter there for free. Because I saw the cost of the ticket. It's it's
Cloud
interesting.
Next. Well, and again, remember, Cloud Next audience is, yeah, it's developers, but it's also the CEOs, it's the
Yeah,
managers. It's meant as a high level, as a top level conference.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, the ticket price shows.
Whew. But yeah, I would like to be there again, especially for two reasons. I think like you can have not the same amount of information, but at least the general information also when you are on the internet. But it's really interesting to be there and talk directly with the people involved, because sometimes you have some specific questions and you can really start a discussion. It's not only for networking, but it's really to, like, how do you do that? Right now I have this problem. How do you do that? And the other thing that I really loved is the enthusiasm that I saw. I was in the innovative hub where you have all the space for women tech makers, but also GDG and so on. I really liked the fact that there were so many people interested in, hey, I can be a part of this. And there were also mentoring sessions on how to keep going with your career, on how to change. So it's not only Google Cloud itself, it's you can really see Google, the overall Google, and what they can offer also as a user.
One of the things I'd like to say about these conferences in general is that the sessions, yeah, fine. The sessions are good and important, but they're recorded.
Yeah.
You can get those later. It's really about the people. It's about um, going beyond the networking, as you said. It's really connecting with people and understanding what drives them to doing what they do. What are the things that they're most interested in about what they're doing and about what's being announced, and how they're reacting to it.
Yeah.
It's it's all of those things. It's this common passion that we have for using this technology to do important stuff.
Exactly.
It's not technology for technology's sake. It's every time I'm with people and talking about this, it's always about here is what I am doing. It's not here's this new technology. It's here's what I'm doing. Here's why I'm doing it. Here's why it's important to me. Here's why it's important to people I work with.
Yeah.
That's really exciting to see, and that you're right. That's very infectious.
Yeah, you can have a lot of ideas by just talking with people. It's like, okay, I'm honestly, I was refreshed after, like, first I
I
slept
was
a lot. I say goodbye to my feet, and after that, I was
I was going to say
refreshed.
everybody I've spoken to have said they were exhausted and still recovering from it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I get that refresh. It's you come away from it with this charged that you can do this. You
yeah.
can do amazing stuff with this technology, and that's a refreshing feeling to come away with. I get that. So I really want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing this. I hope we have you back on the future to discuss other things. Um, for folks that are watching, we'd love to hear your thoughts. There was a lot going on at Next. What caught your eye, both AI and not AI? Because I'd say most of it was AI, but there were a lot of other stuff announced as well. So, what caught your eye? What are you interested in? Feel free to reach out to us. Leave comments below. Reach out to us on social media. Where can folks find you on social media?
So for me, most of the time you will find me on LinkedIn. basically.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's great. So search me as a Stefania Pecore, PhD. Stefania with a F, please. I always have to say that. If you see that there is a weird Japanese sign before my name, that's me.
Okay. And folks, we hope to see you. We'll hope to have you back another time and hope to see folks on another episode of Two Voice Devs.
Bye, 2 voice steps.